Back to that big breaking news this morning. President Trump minutes ago saying on Fox and Friends the person who shot and killed Charlie Kirk is now in custody.
A long interview this morning. Doug Luzader live in Washington with more on what we know. So apparently, Doug, the president said that he was just notified that a suspect was in custody moments before he went onto the set there at Fox and Friends.
Yeah, we're still so early here in this investigation and in this kind of breaking news about this individual apparently being caught. I'm just noticing here that the New York Times is reporting that this person was taken into custody around 11 o'clock last night. Now, it's not clear to me whether that was Utah time or Eastern time for the New York Times, but regardless, it would indicate that this individual has been in custody for a number of hours. But the president did confirm this, and we expect further confirmation from the investigators themselves in about 20 minutes-ish. I mean, they're saying that at the half-hour point that we should hear more from these investigators in Utah to get more information. But the president did fill in some aspects of this, indicating not just that someone was in custody, but that this individual may have been turned in by his own father. And, you know, we had kind of talked about this, that these images were not great that the FBI had released of this person, but they were probably good enough that if this was someone you knew, that you might recognize him. And apparently that is, according to the president, how that all happened here.
Yeah, including even the clothing. You know, of course, someone can change their clothing, but if you know the individual and let's say that individual lives with you or you're around them a lot, you might be able to recognize some of their clothing. And certainly that was the case here. This was something that the officials had hoped would happen, including that backpack right there. So right now, they're in the process of questioning this individual. Obviously, they're also going to go through the process of matching the forensic evidence. This is going to take some time. It's going to be a process.
Yeah. It's going to take some time, and you know we obviously know that the murder weapon they believe has been found. I mean, that was something that happened pretty early on in this, and there may in fact be residual DNA on that rifle. Now, DNA in a vacuum doesn't really help you all that much because you don't have the DNA of the suspect unless that person, for whatever reason, has been sampled before because it brushes with law enforcement. But now you have a suspect, and if there is DNA left behind in the stairwell where we saw some of these images taken or from the rifle itself, that would certainly help them build a case here. And the president was also clear that he wants, he's reiterated this point this morning, that he wants the death penalty for this individual. So we'll see what investigators say, but these developments are happening pretty quickly. When it had looked like the FBI was really at something of a, I'm not going to say at a dead end, but they were really having some difficulty, and they were making an appeal to the public with these images, hoping that they would lead to the arrest of this person.
Yeah, we know you've been doing these reports. You've been busy doing this, and the president, real-time talking to Fox and Friends there, revealing some more of this information. He said that the suspect is maybe 28 or 29 years old, and that the father, who was a minister, recognized the son and convinced the son to turn himself in. They went to a U.S. Marshal, and they apparently brought him right to the police station there. And the president, Doug, also saying that he hasn't even watched the video of the assassination himself, saying that Charlie Kirk was almost like a son to him.
Look, they were very close, and you know, there's obviously a huge age difference, but that may be the reason why they were so close, because Charlie Kirk was able to appeal to young voters in a way that perhaps the president himself and any politician has difficulty doing. It's very difficult to get young voters to show up at the polls. Charlie Kirk had that ability and really delivered a lot of young voters, the thinking is, for the president during the last election. I mean, that's evidenced by the kinds of events that he would host, as we saw in Utah, where he would get thousands of young people to show up at these big outdoor events. Now, for sure, there were a number of people there that didn't like Charlie Kirk, but there were a lot of people that did. And those people turned out in droves, it turns out, for the president.
It definitely was a movement. Yeah.
There was so much talk that this individual could have left the state of Utah, right? Because it seemed like this was taking forever to make this arrest. But we'll find out more information, obviously, during this press conference set to begin in about 20 minutes or so. Another point that was made by experts this morning is there was people who had witnessed I think you have to go, Doug, so you can go. We'll check in with you later, but thank you, by the way.
Thank you, Doug.
Sure.
Some witnesses there on the campus a week prior to Charlie Kirk making his appearance, you know, because it's advertised, obviously, that he's coming, he's speaking, and people had witnessed someone on the roof, and they described him as, you know, average-looking, thin, slender, white dude was the description. And so obviously this took a lot of planning, and you know, figuring out where to go, how to escape. There's just so much that went into this.
Yeah.
So.
A lot of questions. We're going to find out a lot more, hopefully, when that press conference gets underway at 6:30 this morning, and we will bring that to you as soon as it happens. Stay here for continuing coverage. All right, let's get